It's all a blur. I see nobles chatting before me. They're talking about the Crown Prince. His Highness the Crown Prince is the young heir of the Vipal Empire, so the Emperor is especially strict with him. They also mentioned Her Majesty Empress Alice. If I heard correctly, this is clearly the world of a novel I've read. So that truck that hit me was one of those transmigration trucks. This is great. I can finally say goodbye to my miserable life. It seems the kitten I saved before I died brought me good luck. No matter who I've become, I know the future of all the characters in the novel. In any case, I'll live a better life than my last one. What kind of character am I? The recently popular villainess, or an elegant young lady from a noble family? A country girl wouldn't be bad either. My previous life was always so hectic. In a novel, a life of fine clothes and gourmet food would be nice. But my body feels strange. It's as if I'm still floating in midair. The sound that comes out is meow meow. Whether I'm a villainess, the protagonist, or even a passing side character, it would be fine. However, in this world, I wasn't reincarnated as a person, but as a palm-sized kitten. My hands are covered in soft, white fur. I should call them front paws, although cats are beloved animals in my original world. But if this is the world from that novel I read, then it's a different story. A soul devoured by darkness. After much persuasion from my friend, I finally read this dark novel. The novel detailed the female lead's obsession and madness for the male lead. While it tortured the readers, the work was also incredibly captivating. The greatest empire on the Demet continent, Vipal. The male lead, Killian, is the emperor of this country. At the nation's founding, the empire received a divine oracle. It said that a cursed cat would bring about the empire's ruin. The citizens searched the empire and eradicated the cats. Hundreds of years later, not a single cat hair could be found in the empire. At the same time, as the oracle foretold, they welcomed an era of great peace and prosperity. This is the basic setting of the novel. And I am a cat. The education he must have received in Vipal is that cats are extremely vicious animals. They must be killed immediately upon discovery. His gaze is terrifying. Someone came over to ask what happened to the Crown Prince. Killian said it was nothing and that they should hunt next time. He wasn't feeling well. Hearing this, those people left. Right now, this man is impossible to suspect. Thinking of the description in the novel, I'm even more certain that in the Vipal Empire, only the royal family possesses red pupils. And among the royals, there's only one person who inherited the jet black hair of the Empress Dowager Alice. This handsome man holding me is the future ruler of the Vipal Empire, Crown Prince Killian. In the novel, he was depicted as a tyrant the likes of which the world had never seen. He should know about the divine oracle concerning the empire's downfall. He can't possibly let a cat live. I had no part in what the cats of the empire did. On the contrary, I'm a pitiful soul who was hit by a truck while trying to save a cat. Your Highness, I'm actually a person. Although I look like a cat, my consciousness is that of a woman. Although I wanted to say that, the sound that came out was still meow meow. Killian said, "So this beast is a cat." I tried my best to speak, but I just couldn't. In the end, he put me in his pocket. Suddenly, we changed locations. Does he not want to do it in the garden under everyone's watch, but wants to kill me somewhere else? I was placed on a table. I couldn't help but tremble. Killian said, "It's so different from what's written in the books. Its fangs don't reach below its chin. The claws don't look dangerous either. But there's one thing he's sure of. It's hiding itself. A vicious appearance can always be deceiving." In his eyes, my frightened look was just adorable. His gaze was full of pressure. He gave me some commands: shake paw, roll over, and kiss his finger. Killian was a little surprised. It was the only living cat that could understand his words. Looking at the feast on the table, he didn't know what I ate. He doesn't plan to kill me. He even prepared food for me. Looking at the Crown Prince now, he seems to be about 18 or 19. Killian became emperor not long after coming of age. The original story is set after his ascension. I guess I've transmigrated into the prequel. If a cat drinks milk meant for humans, it will get diarrhea. But I drank it anyway. The taste was so good it made me want to cry. After I finished drinking, someone even wiped my mouth. Killian couldn't understand what was so scary about this creature. Just then, someone came to the door. I was roughly shoved into his pocket. A beautiful lady came in. She was the one who made the dishes on this table. With a gentle voice, she only serves the food she makes to Killian. Isn't this the cruel countess who would do anything not to lose the power in her hands? She seduced Killian's father, Adolf, and became his only mistress. Because she was a clever villainess with great political skill, she caused the protagonist a lot of trouble. She took the dark magic potion she used to feed Adolf and slowly added it to the Crown Prince's food. This way, After Killian became emperor, she could use the magic potion to control him. Killian was just about to eat it. For the sake of his health, I had to use some means to stop him from eating. Killian was annoyed. He didn't want to eat now and told her to leave. After the person left, I could finally come out. But I felt very guilty because I had scratched his hand. And even if I explained, he wouldn't understand me. Stared at by his cold gaze, I felt my life was over. The original novel described his poisoned state after taking the dark magic potion. But this is before the original story. It's possible to prevent that from happening in the future. From now on, I just have to stop him from eating the food Lady Gisela sends. He wasn't even angry that I hurt him. Although he forgave me, he was about to eat that food again, and he still couldn't understand my words. So I showed him the universal language. I indicated that eating this would make him drop dead. Killian understood my meaning. This food couldn't be eaten. He had me point out all the inedible things one by one, and I did as he asked. Killian found my actions incredible. A cat could actually understand human speech and even knew the food was poisoned. He suspected it was a special ability of cats. How could that be, I thought? I'm a human in a cat's body. That's even more incredible. But if I weren't a human in a cat's body, but had really become a cat, I would see no hope for the future. The Crown Prince doesn't seem to want to kill me right now. I have to stick close to him to save my own life. Because no one can resist a fluffy, white, adorable little kitten. At this moment, an announcement came from outside. His Majesty the Emperor has ordered him to the study at once. I hid under the covers in Killian's room. This place felt gloomy. He had told me to stay here and be good. If I got bored, I could wander around this room, but I was not to go anywhere else. He returned soon after. His shoulders were covered in wounds. He went to the bathroom to take a shower. Only then did he come to see me. He lay on the bed. I smelled blood. In the original novel, Killian was physically punished by the Emperor since childhood. Could it be that he was called away today for corporal punishment too? I used to wonder why the male leads in romance fantasy novels were always so expressionless. Now I understand. Although it's a plot device, this is a reality happening right in front of me. The smell of blood and the cold air, everything is so vivid. In the middle of the night, Killian turned over and saw a woman sleeping before him, and she wasn't wearing any clothes. He sat up abruptly. The cat that should have been where he was lying was gone. For the first time in his life, a living cat, something he had only seen in pictures, appeared before him. Although killing it on the spot was the right thing to do. But he didn't do it. How could a cat, which had been exterminated hundreds of years ago, appear in the palace's back garden today? And it was just an animal, yet it could understand human speech. This weak little cat, which looked like it couldn't even protect itself, had saved him from food poisoning. And it had waited in this room for him to return. Even if it should be killed, he was the one who found it. It was his. If this woman dared to touch his thing, he wouldn't spare her, no matter who she was. He shouted loudly, but didn't wake the person up, just as he was about to make a move. A white light burst forth before his eyes. Where the woman should have been lying, the little cat appeared. Killian stood still. When I woke up, I found Killian staring at me with a fierce expression. Did I kick him in my sleep, or did I touch his wounds? He asked me who I was. Was I really a kitten? As a cat, I couldn't answer him. Looking at him like this, I seriously suspect he's either under too much stress or has been poisoned. The original novel clearly stated there was an antidote. The only person who knew the antidote was Lady Gisela, because she died before revealing its whereabouts. He must be having an episode. Faced with his questions, I could only pretend to be busy, but he remained unmoved. I had no choice but to use my killer move and lick his finger to bring him to his senses. Unable to get an answer, Killian laid down directly. He even thoughtfully tucked me in. After a while, I fell asleep. Unconsciously, I turned into a human again. The creature known as a cat is a monster that will lead to the Vipal Empire's downfall. Therefore, all means were mobilized to exterminate them. That's what he was taught. But what exactly is this cat before him? Even though a cat has survived, the Empire still stands. This is completely different from what he knows. A cat turning into a human. This has never been mentioned in any document. A history that has deceived the Empire and been hidden until now. Vipal is his empire. It will one day become his land. If it has a secret, he must find it out. Until then, this cat must not be discovered, nor can it be taken away. But for now, he had to find some clothes for this naked woman. I feel like my need for sleep has increased dramatically since becoming a cat. When I got up, I found a string tied to my leg. He spouted a line straight out of a clueless guy's playbook. I also smelled blood. I pulled open his collar. His body was indeed covered in scars. Although he is Killian, whose fighting and swordsmanship skills are second to none in the Empire, These were clearly the marks of merciless violence. Did he not resist at all? Why? The emperor, known as the strongest in the original novel, was so foolish as a crown prince, enduring such abuse. Truly the protagonist of a dark novel. He stroked my head, wondering if I even knew I was a cat. He had to go out today. He had something to buy. I was filled with curiosity. Outside is the world of the novel. This is the most popular clothing store in Claude Town. I didn't quite understand why he brought me along to buy clothes. Next to it were props being prepared for a masquerade ball held for the palace. He's planning to attend the masquerade ball. Is it the event where Killian meets the female lead? After he dismissed the shop assistants, I came out and looked at the high-end clothing store, my eyes nearly blinded. What surprised me even more was that he actually asked me to choose the clothes because he doesn't understand girls' tastes. My mind was racing. What was the crown prince planning to do with women's clothes? He said it was a gift. The only person I could think of was Lady Gisela. Of course, Lady Gisela is a beauty who can make people fall in love at first sight. There's also only a 3-year age gap between them. But aren't they enemies? The mistress who took his own mother's place. Anyone can see their relationship can't be good. Could it be that Killian has fallen for her? This is giving me a headache. He bought a lot. I try my best to stop him. Seeing my sulky face, he said, "You think it's not a gift for you, so you're jealous?" I turned my head away with a huff, thinking, of course not. I still don't know that I turn into a person when I sleep. Killian showed a meaningful smile. Getting into the carriage, Killian seemed to be in a good mood. I suspected he was hiding something from me, but as soon as he offered me a snack, I let my guard down. However, he kept staring at me, which made me feel awkward. He stroked my head and told me to eat more. Killian said that when we arrive, he needs to confirm something. No matter what happens, he won't get hurt. It seems he's plotting something, which made me wary. But under his touch, I relaxed and couldn't help but feel sleepy. I fell asleep in an instant. Killian had already prepared a blanket. Since the previous emperor's reign, magic has been condemned as an evil power. While its use was strictly restricted, magicians were also heavily discriminated against. To investigate the strange phenomenon surrounding her, it was better for him to meet the magicians in person. By the time I woke up, I was in his pocket again. Winston Region, Duchesses County. His name is Baron Duchesses. They were all very respectful upon seeing the prince. Baron Duchesses' son, Arid Duchesses, asked if the palace knew His Highness was here. The magicians were actually exiled to the Winston region. Because the royal family considered them an evil existence, they were banished. Arid asked with a grim face the crown prince's sudden visit. How shocking it was. Killian paid no mind to his rudeness. He took me out of his pocket. The surroundings fell silent. Killian told them to find a way to investigate the curse on this cat. He didn't care if they said magic was a power hostile to the royal family. Arid is the young, intelligent magician who rebels in the latter half of the novel. So Killian met him before his ascension. This is different from the original plot, I know. Arid drew his sword as if to kill me. The reflection on the blade showed my terrified face. At this critical moment, Killian thankfully protected me. Baron quickly stopped his son and smoothed things over. Seeing there was no danger, Killian slowly lowered his sword. He said that anyone who dares to touch his things must be punished. The 3 of them surrounded me, discussing my fate. Killian didn't like them wasting so much time. He directly used his power to threaten them. If they didn't agree, he would act. I was completely stunned. That was Killian's hidden power. Aura is a power that only those who have reached the pinnacle of swordsmanship can possess. But in this world, aura is considered an evil power, just like magic. He rarely uses it. In a place teeming with magicians hostile to the royal family, using the power of aura could easily give them leverage against him. Why would he go to such lengths? Under Killian's threat of force, Baron began to examine the curse on me. This is now the real world where I must survive. After examining me, Baron said, "This is an extremely powerful force that no one can break. A divine blessing." According to their familiar analysis of divine oracles, cats are evil beings that must be killed. But what's on this cat is not a curse, but a divine blessing. Because a god is personally protecting this cat, it has been able to survive through the generations. Killian understood that its appearance was no accident. This cat's parents are likely still alive. Baron had his son check the cat's memories. He was somewhat displeased. He grabbed my front paw. After a flash of light, he saw nothing. He only saw my memories after I transmigrated. The only human in this cat's memory is His Highness Killian. These are all its memories before he indicated. The divine power imprinted on the cat is blocking me. He needed to investigate other materials. But everything related to the curse, including the divine oracle, has been burned. Arid finally understood. His Highness didn't come here just to determine if it was a curse, did he? That's right. In his official capacity as the Crown Prince, he made them a proposal. These are the terms of the contract. As for why he chose them, the Duchesses family is the only Green Lotus Mage family that has never submitted to the royal family for hundreds of years. He wants to reorganize the academy. The former king, fearing the mage's power would challenge the throne, completely abolished the academy, nipping it in the bud. Baron reminds him that this decision, if not handled carefully, could also place him in a dangerous position within the empire. The situation is precarious. It also hides secrets as dark as this cat's ink-black fur. Restoring order will not be an easy task, but he is already prepared. For a mage, signing a contract is equivalent to dedicating one's entire life. He doesn't have grand ambitions of building a superior empire or anything of the sort. He just wants to find the truth, to find out what secret the divine edict is hiding. This matter is not simple. At that moment, the father and son looked at each other. Baron is willing to sign a contract for him. From now on, they're on the same side. Now, Killian is about to issue his first command, and that is to cast a spell on the clothes, allowing them to change size along with the owner's body. Although they were confused, they did it anyway. Returning at night, Killian called me over. He told me to put on this dress. It would definitely be uncomfortable to wear this while sleeping. I vehemently refused. How nice it would be to sleep without wearing anything, tucked into a cool, warm blanket. Killian saw her strong opposition. He smiled and said, "Don't regret it." And when she went to sleep that night, as expected, she turned back into a human. Since the age of 19, Killian has been taking an excessive amount of dark magic potions. If things followed the original story, Killian should be lifeless at this point. But now, he seems to be in such high spirits and doesn't look like he's enduring any pain. A white Tulu flew in from the window. A Tulu that Killian knew. Are all male leads in novels like this? Is this Tulu creature so obedient? It glanced at me, which gave me a fright. That little guy is Mizio. It's the Tulu his mother raised. Killian is going to see his majesty. That was a letter from his father telling him to take on the duties of a monarch. A gunshot rang out in the distance. Adolf, the emperor of the Weipel Empire. He said, "Playing with the prey like this is also a kind of fun, isn't it?" Killian frowned and had someone release the creature back to the plains. A knight commander, Leno Macmillan, had something important to report. He whispered something. Adolf was very angry after hearing it. He said, "Mages are running amok. What's going on?" Leno is not only a knight commander, but also a vile and lowly subordinate of Lady Gisela. Killian decided to intimidate him, saying he had gathered mages and placed them under his command. He explained that apart from the nobility, most citizens still rely on mages to solve illnesses or minor problems. He wants to win over the mages, whom the majority of the citizens trust and rely on, and have the royal family monopolize their loyalty and power. All of this is for your majesty. Adolf was very happy to hear this. At that moment, Lady Gisela arrived. Leno withdrew. She had heard that His Majesty the Emperor was in the greenhouse, displaying a precious black lion, so she came to see. The lion has already been sent back to the plains. The Emperor asked her how the ball preparations were going. She said they were underway. If Her Majesty the Queen were here, she would have been able to handle this matter perfectly. After hearing this, the Emperor said that she alone was enough. Killian wanted to kill them all, but killing them at once would be too easy for them. He wants to slowly tighten the noose around their necks. Killian didn't come back until very late. I, who had been asleep, woke up instantly. I was afraid Killian had been poisoned again. In the original story, the period when Killian showed symptoms of dark magic potion poisoning was when he was 19. The pain was so great that he would soon become corrupted, kill his own father, and stage a coup. He couldn't even walk steadily. He soon collapsed on the sofa. Killian is good at hiding his pain. No one in the royal family protects Killian. To make him more comfortable, the first thing to do is to lower his temperature. It's really tiring, but having done this much, his temperature should come down, right? She also wanted to cover herself with a blanket and sleep comfortably. From all the running around, the cushions Killian had piled up for her had all scattered. There's no way to get on the bed now. I'll just wear these cat pajamas. In the morning, Killian woke up and found a small dress on his face. On the floor, I was sleeping soundly. Did she take care of him until she fell asleep? In this hellish place, she is the only one who would think of him. She'll catch a cold sleeping on the floor. Is he planning to make her serve him? She's so well behaved. This could be her reward. Lynette means little queen, because at least in this space, he can order her around as he pleases. He bestowed the name Queen upon her. When I came to my senses again, I actually had a name, but I was more worried about his condition. Thankfully, he was fine. As a way of thanking me, Killian told me that I turn into a human when I sleep. A naked one at that. I was dizzy after hearing that. How could this be? I'm so angry right now. I don't want to pay any attention to Killian at all, because he must have seen something. How can I face anyone now? He even came over and tried to touch me. I swatted him away with my paw. I accidentally scratched him. At this moment, I felt very guilty. He told me to calm down. Now he has to attend to his duties. This little scratch is nothing to Killian. He turned his head and told me to wait for him here obediently. I was still feeling guilty, worried that Killian was angry with me. Just then, there was a commotion outside. The door actually opened. It was Catherine. I hid under the bed, not daring to make a sound. I thought, even if the Emperor favors her, she can't just barge into the Crown Prince's chambers and rummage through his things. They actually know Killian went to a dress shop. Now they want to find a woman's belongings. Lady Anna Rose was worried. Can we really make an issue out of His Highness seeing a woman? I'm afraid it might backfire. Catherine warned her to just do as she was told and not to waste her time. She figured that the woman he met must be someone whose identity cannot be revealed. Right now, they can't let any suspicious detail slide. If this goes on, I'm done for if I'm discovered. In the end, the maids found nothing. Catherine was about to lose her temper when a woman came in from outside. She said she thought no one was here. She came to clean. Catherine was highly suspicious of her identity, but Anna Rose whispered something in her ear. She could only leave, saying resentfully, "I've memorized your face." With a loud slam of the door, I thought, she's finally gone. I just had to wait for the maid to leave. I never expected that the maid would spot me at a glance, and she even reached out her hand to grab me. Luckily, Killian arrived at that moment. The door was clearly locked, but she somehow got in. However, he made the person leave. With the sound of the door closing, he called my name. I came out, still a little scared. He was sure he had locked the door before he left. How could the door be open? He was certain it must be Lady Gisella's doing. The scratch I made this morning. Filled with guilt, I couldn't help but lick it. The ring next to it suddenly glowed. News about him was coming through. The maid who came to the garden discovered that such a place existed in the palace. It was quiet all around, as if it weren't the real world. Someone suddenly appeared behind her, asking how she got here. This was a space he created with magic. No one should be able to enter except for his master. She seems to be looking for something. Are you sure you're not looking for a cat? My master doesn't like to wait. Killian felt she looked familiar. Isn't this the maid who was rummaging through his room? It seems she didn't find what she was looking for. Killian didn't want to waste time with her and directly asked who was behind her. But Irina didn't say anything, and Killian's patience was wearing thin. If this continued, he would really kill this maid, just as Killian was about to make a move. I rushed out and blocked the sword. Her expression didn't seem to be one of fear. She actually came over and touched me, saying through tears, "So you're all right." My child. A short while ago, Irina checked back and forth and placed the child in the bushes, telling her to hide well, that if you see bad people, you must run away. Wait for mommy here obediently. But when she returned in the evening, she searched everywhere but couldn't find her at all. The child was gone. Killian understood what had happened. He said that he was the one who found the cat during that time and took her away. Irina never dreamed that she had lost her memory and was staying with His Highness. Thankfully, you're back. In return, Killian asked a few questions. Is she also a cat? And are there any other cats in this world? Irina answered that she is a cat, but there are no other cats left alive in this world. After the divine edict was issued, a policy to exterminate cats was implemented. Even mages were dispatched to find them. All the other cats were killed at that time, because ever since that incident where a cat killed a child and offered it to a demon, cats have been regarded as evil animals. Just hearing her talk about it, I couldn't help but feel nauseous. It was as if I had seen it somewhere before. This sadness and guilt. I don't understand who it belongs to. Just as I was feeling unwell, Killian walked up to me and asked, "What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell somewhere?" Irina hadn't even had the chance to name her child because they are still under a curse. Their curse is to take the form of a cat and become pregnant with every red moon. She said it's their way of atoning for their sins. She doesn't know the specifics. The red moon is a phenomenon observed only once every 70 years. The last time a red moon was spotted was clearly 18 years ago. She is now 89 years old. When her child comes of age in a year, that will be the day she dies. They are born as children, just like humans, and grow up like humans. When they come of age at 20, they live on in that form until they die at the age of 90. But something unexpected happened with this child. They are human when awake and turn into a cat when asleep. But the curse on this child is different from theirs. Why is she the opposite? That's why she wanted to name her after solving this problem. She has no clues, but she guessed there's one place that might have information. She was a little uneasy. The female lead comforted her. Finally, she said the place was the Royal Archives. She knows that place is off limits, but it's the only place she could surmise. Killian asked Baron if he could teleport that many people. He said he could. As for being discovered, he would handle it. Irina was very grateful to him. Killian was also doing it to get to the truth. He also wanted to know what she planned to do next. She has found her daughter, but her status is only that of a maid. Before entering the Royal Archives, she asked him to take care of her daughter. It's safest to stay by His Highness's side for now. She has to go tomorrow morning. Tonight is my last day here. Killian saw that I wasn't sleeping yet. Are you waiting for me? He's going to sleep with me tonight. He'll even put clothes on me. That night, I had some trouble sleeping. Actually, ever since I started sleeping in the same bed with him, I haven't had that damn nightmare again. It's so good to have him. Thank you for staying by my side. To be honest, I don't want to be separated from him either. The next day, he was ready. There's no one here. I still have to hide. I'm a little shy because of what happened last night. With Irina's final arrival, everyone was finally gathered. Soon, they arrive at the archives. The security magic here has quite a few loopholes. They could break in quickly. From now on, they would start searching for information about cats. I also ran out, but didn't find any clues. Until Irina found a book. It had an unusual aura. Killian came over and said, "This book doesn't seem to have any special content either. Will the one who took a precious life experience 8 darknesses to welcome the 9th night?" The book she was looking for is this one. Her mother said she was the 8th child. Then the 9th child must be referring to my child, Lynette. When I wanted to take a closer look, as soon as my hand touched the book, it burst with a blinding light. I felt like I was being sucked in. A voice from within the book said that the book contained his divine power. There were some things to tell the future me. Is the future being told from the past? He said, "We have been waiting for you, the one who can save the empire." But they clearly said that cats would bring ruin to the empire. And she has a curse that's the opposite of other cats. They said that her special constitution is proof that she is a child of the night. What she must do in the future is to find and destroy the divine edict. I had many questions, but they didn't give me any answers. They said she is a child protected by the gods, who can set everything right. If she meets a child of his family, can they help her see the future? I hope you will forge ahead bravely. When I woke up again, I saw them all looking at me. There was divine power left in the book. This is something only a high-ranking priest could do. They guessed it was one person. The original text was destroyed a week after the divine edict was issued. The priest who died protecting the divine edict, Fabian. Nyla's must be him, the one who left the message for the female lead in the end. Killian ordered, no matter what, find Fabian's descendant. No matter where he is, and no matter who he is, you must find him. A few days passed after that. Thankfully, Baron found him quickly. We're about to reach the appointed place. But I couldn't feel happy. Being dressed up like this, I feel so embarrassed. The Duke couldn't help but chuckle. When we arrived, the place reeked of alcohol. I heard that person is 16 years old. To think he lives here. People were arguing inside. A young man was asking an older man for money. Killian confirmed again. He is Fabian's descendant. Just as the older man was about to hit the boy, Killian stepped forward and stopped him, offering him 100 kalings. He threatened that if he hit the boy again, he'd beat him to a pulp. Killian treated him to a meal. He had given himself the name Jack. He asked Killian what he wanted from him. They started talking business about the child who changes between day and night. He didn't understand what that meant. Are you talking about a kid who doesn't sleep at night and wanders around? The scene immediately fell silent. Faced with their questions, Jack knew nothing. Killian and the mage were shocked. They never expected him to know nothing at all. Killian planned to go back and have Hallett erase Sanoa's memory. Baron would go look for other children from the Nyla's family. The female lead was very worried. If he didn't inherit anything, does that mean the descendant has no clues either? Suddenly, she thought of something. She jumped over and pounced on his face, taking a sniff at his cheek. Sanoa stared in shock. The cat in front of him had turned into a person. The two of them were sprawled on the ground like that. Killian walked over and picked her up, telling her not to get too close to the man. Sanoa, on the side, was questioning his reality. A cat turned into a person. This is truly incredible. Baron asked her how she figured it out. It was actually simple. The only thing that can't be destroyed or stolen over a long period of time is a person. After hearing this, Baron understood. Priest Nailas had placed the answer in his future bloodline. Sanoa was very happy to hear this. It's because of me that she turned human, right? Then you should give me a lot of money. The female lead and Killian were alone. Killian was displeased. Why did you bite that man's face? And he spoke to her formally. The female lead was a bit reserved, saying that their statuses are different, after all. Suddenly, a scream came from inside the door. The female lead was about to get up to see what had happened, but her legs gave way. She fell right into Killian's arms. Halid ran out, screaming for help. Sanoa was speechless that it's just a mouse. Does he have to make such a fuss? Hearing this, Halid said, I'd rather sleep in a pigsty than be with a filthy person like this. Sanoa was furious. The consequences were severe. He commanded an army of rats to charge forward. Halid fainted from fright. Killian was shocked. Sanoa actually possessed the ability to command rats. The female lead wants to take Sanoa with them because he has a special ability. Sanoa inherited the legacy of a family that produced outstanding priests for generations, dedicating themselves to saving the empire. He was born into the Naila's family. Perhaps he possesses an even greater power than his ancestors. When the time comes, he can help everyone. Sanoa relented. Just don't complain even if I'm not that amazing. The female lead was happy to hear this and said, of course. But in the blink of an eye, he turned back into a cat. Halid's guess. Sanoa must have exhausted his power. They could only wait for him to recover to discuss it further. He would stay at the Count's house for now. Wait for Sanoa's power to recover. They would contact him then. Now, back to the Imperial Palace. Irina watched from a distance, wondering if the child's curse had been resolved. A maid came to inform him that Lady Gisela was looking for him and to go to the reception room. After returning, Killian had to handle official duties. The female lead looked listless. Irina came to see His Highness, saying she had something to tell him. Killian had a headache after hearing her out. It turned out his stepmother had made Irina a spy. He already had no one he could trust in the palace, and now he was faced with more exhausting matters. And now, for him, there was only one person. The one before him, Lynette. That evening, they went for a walk together. Killian had a letter for her from her mother, who had gone to the Count's estate. It was a letter she left because she didn't have time to tell her in person. Killian looked a little downcast. Did this remind him of the Empress's letter? He seemed somewhat sad. The female lead gently patted him. She seemed to have a special ability that made him feel at ease. Moreover, he rarely had nightmares anymore. The female lead was baffled to hear this. She didn't have such an ability. Seeing her disbelief, Killian started taking off his shirt to let her see for herself. The scars on his body were all gone. This was the effect that occurred after he started being with her. Of course, this was just his guess. Even if she didn't have this ability, she was still a special existence to him. This sentence brought the female lead great comfort. Soon after they returned home, the butler was waiting at the door. It turned out to be cookies sent by Lady Gisela. The female lead frantically hinted that they shouldn't be eaten. They were laced with black magic. Killian knew they were poisoned, but ate one anyway. He wanted to conduct an experiment to prove whether she had a special ability. That night, Killian fell asleep. The female lead checked on him and found that he seemed fine. Then she went to sleep. But in her dream, she was holding a dagger and actually stabbed Killian. She was utterly shocked. She could almost hear others' accusations in her ear, saying she was the cursed one, that she was the killer. The female lead woke up in fright. Killian didn't look like he was having a nightmare. Could it be that Killian had been having these kinds of nightmares all along? The nightmare, engulfed by unease, was extinguished. The existence of a wiper. She doubted if she was truly such an existence. Her heart was still wavering. In the morning, Killian could tell she hadn't slept well. After all, she had been dozing off just now. She used the excuse that the sunlight was too nice. Suddenly, she felt weak all over and unexpectedly transformed into a human. Killian handed her his coat and turned his head away. She blushed and thanked him shyly. By the time Killian turned back, she was already wrapped up tightly. He had set up a magic circle in a drawer. As expected, a message came through with good news. Sanoa had just used his divine power. But in the blink of an eye, she had changed back again, and she was asleep in her cat form. It was speculated to be a side effect of being suddenly affected by divine power. Or perhaps Lynette had taken the effects of the black magic potion in his stead. He corresponded with Baron. Their attacks were too frequent and could arouse suspicion. He had to go in person. He He was worried about the people around him leaving. He came face to face with the emperor. An attendant was also holding something bloody. It was a fox cub hunted by His Majesty the Emperor. The emperor said it was a good thing it wasn't a cat, or he would have torn it apart with his own hands. He said it was a pity. The cub wasn't that big a catch. After he caught the cub, its mother followed, so he killed them both. He had once locked him and his mother in a corner of the palace, and now he was mocking him like this to his face. To him, this wasn't even hunting, just a brief bit of late-night entertainment. Killian said with a smile, "Then I must prepare a grand entertainment for you next time, Father. Please allow me to begin the preparations." Catherine said with a smile, "I look forward to it." They passed each other just like that. Leaving under the cover of night, Killian thought to himself, he would not lose anyone by his side again. He would kill anyone who dared to stop him. Catherine smiled smugly. The crown prince said he was going to Claude Town. The prince's tastes are so shallow, and at night too. A woman of low birth, a stunningly beautiful maid who vanished in an instant. If the crown prince hid her so no one could find her, that would make sense. She called out to His Majesty, saying she wanted something. The fox cub's pelt. Halid immediately brought Sanoa over. He asked them to wait a moment. When Miss Lynette wakes up, should he take her away again? Although it was very fortunate that they could bring her over in her cat form. But no one knows what will happen in the future. He must consider whether it's right to have her live in the palace. It's too dangerous to go on like this. But the crown prince just wanted her by his side. Sanoa was brought over at this time, still looking half asleep. He said he didn't know how to wake up the cat. The crown prince's eyes were cold. He said to wake Lynette up. At this, he perked up. He didn't know what to do, only how to release his divine power. Lynette turned back into a human, but showed no reaction. The others were worried they couldn't wake her up. The crown prince told Halid to read Lynette's memories. He needed to confirm something. So Halid did as he was told. He saw a horrifying scene. It was Lynette killing everyone. The crown prince understood. This was the same as the nightmares he had every day before meeting Lynette. Lynette was having the nightmares for him. She woke up from the nightmare, only to find she was still in a dream. She was running in complete darkness. A voice in her ear said she had ruined everything, that she would be free if she just picked up the sword and stabbed her heart, and it all with her own hands. But then the crown prince's face appeared before her, gently telling her to wake up. She was slightly stunned. Tears fell while she was deep in sleep. When she opened her eyes, she saw the crown prince's anxious gaze, and she couldn't catch her breath. Seeing this, the crown prince was filled with worry. The crown prince immediately gave her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. It was Killian's breath entering her mouth. Soon, the young lady was fine. His Highness should also rest. The crown prince said he had a plan. He intended to announce Lynette's existence to the whole world. Lynette was still sleeping. Her mother was looking after her. When the crown prince returned, he found she still hadn't woken up. Irina said she remembered something about her daughter. Her mother had told her that between them, there was something called the bleeding tree. She thought they could find clues about the curse through this. The crown prince said he understood. They would talk about it when she woke up. He had Irina withdraw for now. He opened the door and entered the room to find Lynette was already awake. He quickly walked over to see if she was all right. Although her face was very red, thankfully she didn't have a fever. The female lead said shyly that she was fine. She had just mentioned the bleeding tree and the black magic potion from when she was asleep when Sanoa burst in. He asked why she was only just waking up, and did she know how worried he was? She said that she woke up this time all thanks to him. The female lead smiled and expressed her thanks. The crown prince was speechless and angry to hear this. The two of them were bickering beside the crown prince. Killian, having had enough, said, "Get out." And so, Sanoa was thrown out. Inomacadio. It's a black magic potion that can turn one's latent inner fears into dreams. If Lady Gisela made this potion herself, does that mean she possesses magic? If so, the Imperial Magic Management Department should have it under control. But it's also possible that the Magic Management Department has already joined forces with her. The female lead said that Lady Gisela has no magic. Lady Gisela had secretly come to His Highness's bedroom, desperate to find some dirt on him. If she had magic, she should have been able to sense the magic on his clothes and would have searched for it. But she found nothing. Then she either got it from somewhere else, or someone gave it to her? Could it be Macmillan, who is so favored by Lady Gisela, but he probably doesn't have the guts? Then is there anyone else who would help Lady Gisela? To confirm this, they need the list from the Royal Masquerade Ball, because that's when Lady Gisela first came into prominence. But that list is surely in Lady Gisela's hands now, because the hosts of the ball were rotated. Managing the list was originally the job of Viscount and Viscountess Hamilton. But Viscount and Viscountess Hamilton disappeared overnight. It's obvious whose handiwork this was. When Empress Alice's illness began to worsen, anyone who wanted to enter the royal family needed someone to be in charge of hosting the ball. That position was quickly occupied by Viscount and Viscountess Hamilton. In fact, including the Hamiltons, the Viscount supporters were all corrupt and depraved. And after the Viscount and his wife disappeared, Lady Gisela began to take over the internal affairs of the palace and started managing them. This kind of deception became more and more blatant and bold. The corruption in the royal family was so severe, she was too focused on her thoughts that she didn't even notice when the Crown Prince arrived. She told the Crown Prince her idea, to find the list in Lady Gisela's possession. It wouldn't be an easy task. Could they find Viscount and Viscountess Hamilton? She wondered if they were still safe. The Crown Prince said that mages also have magic for tracking people. She was a little happy, but the Crown Prince was standing far too close. It reminded her of that kiss. So she changed the subject and asked why he had come to see her. He said he had something to tell her before he left, which meant she would be left here for a short time. She asked uneasily, "Is it because it's harder to hide now that I've turned into a person?" He said, "No, it's not that. You'll stay here for half a month because there are some things that need to be looked into. Baron will explain the rest to you. Don't worry too much." They had always been together, but she never realized she trusted Killian so much. Half a month would pass quickly for her, about 2 weeks. But for the Crown Prince, it would be a very long time. Afterward, she will attend a masquerade ball in human form. Although Sanoa's divine power isn't perfectly trained yet, as long as he is awake, she can maintain her human form. You won't have to hide anymore. You will have the help of the ducal house of Brunhild. Although he is one of the few dukes in the empire, he rarely leaves his own territory. The duke is married, but has no children. You will attend as a lady-in-waiting from there. Lynette Brunhild will be your name. The Crown Prince believed she could do it well. In a flash, it was time for him to depart. The female lead waved goodbye to him from upstairs. Baron suggested he should respond. Killian said to forget it. Not getting a response, the female lead was angry. Killian said with a smile that he felt the time was short, so a response wasn't necessary. Find a clue about the Hamiltons and send word immediately. Also, the coachman. Hallett has already altered the coachman's memory. The Wiper Empire forbids black magic. The entire nation believes that everything related to black magic has been completely eradicated. He needed more information about black magic that wasn't public knowledge. Where should he look for such information? Baron said it was the Royal Archives. Lady Gisela has already requested access to the Royal Archives. His father, the king, of course, granted the lady's request. According to Lynette, Lady Gisela has no magic, so she must be trying to use a black magic potion. She must have some kind of magical item, and the Royal Archives must hold the answer. Where on earth is that thing? There's so many books here. This ring is annoying no matter when you look at it. There's actually writing inside the gem. Who in the world is Bayan Ellis? If she doesn't search as instructed, the ring shrinks. And while she's carefully searching, she gets interrupted. His Majesty the Emperor is looking for her. Although she was annoyed, she still put on a smiling face, saying, "Oh, Your Majesty, you can't bear to be apart from me for even a moment." Although she didn't know what that book was, it wouldn't be hard for her. She would find it sooner or later. It was corn chowder again this morning. Her mother said it was because she liked it. The female lead started to sweat, thinking that even if she liked it, she couldn't eat it for every meal. While eating, she wondered if Killian was eating well, or if he had eaten food laced with black magic again. The thought of this made her very worried. He hadn't even replied to her, which made her anxious. She kept waiting, but there was no word. Thinking of this, she wondered if her sense of smell was particularly sharp, able to detect black magic. Hallett saw her and thought Sanoa smelled, telling him to go take a bath. Watching the two of them bicker, the female lead couldn't tell if they got along or not. After class, the female lead felt like she was going to drown. There was also homework. Since his father was away, he was the one teaching. After breakfast, the Count went to investigate the disappearance case. Hallett told her to go get Sanoa, only to find him slacking off. The female lead told him to wake up. He was still arguing that he wasn't slacking off, that it was his break time. She knew he was lying. The female lead didn't press the issue and just asked if studying was tiring. Sanoa sighed and said it was boring. He had to learn strange characters and wasn't even shown any magical creatures. Sanoa likes animals so much. Does he know about plants too? So the female lead asked him if he knew about the bleeding tree. His eyes widened for a second. He answered that he didn't know. The female lead let it go, saying she'd ask someone else later. Sanoa said, "Who would you ask about plants?" Of course, the animals living in nature know best. The female lead thought he was a genius. She promised to keep his skipping class a secret. The female lead happily hugged him to express her gratitude. The crown prince arrived just in time to see this scene. The female lead also noticed Killian was back and was very happy, but he didn't look pleased. He had come back this time because someone's letter made him furious. It said that if he didn't reply, she wouldn't tell him about the bleeding tree. The female lead had said to tell him after he recovered, so he came directly. The female lead was a little surprised. Did he come all this way just because of her letter? At that moment, Halid came over, surprised to see His Highness had arrived. And Sanoa, who was skipping class, was also hiding here. Killian invited her back to the room with him. It seemed they had a lot to talk about. After they went back, the female lead made him a cup of tea. She was quite good at it now. The prince asked her how her life was now, and if there was anything uncomfortable. The female lead said there was nothing. She didn't want His Highness to worry. However, His Highness said that even so, he would take her away, even if she was comfortable here. She was a little confused when she heard this. Of course she was going back. Where else would she go? Then it dawned on her. His Highness mistakenly thought she wanted to stay here. She quickly expressed that she wanted to return to the palace. Hearing this answer, His Highness finally relaxed and said, "I see." Thankfully, the misunderstanding should be cleared up. But why wasn't he sleepy? She had specially made him a tea to help him sleep. Yet His Highness wasn't the least bit drowsy. She had fallen asleep immediately after drinking it. So she walked over and pushed His Highness straight down. His Highness's heart was beating fast. She just wanted His Highness to get a good night's sleep. Having successfully pushed him down, she could make a clean getaway. Who knew His Highness wouldn't let her leave, saying he wouldn't sleep. The female lead closed his eyes and told him to sleep without worry. There would be no nightmares this time. Get a good night's sleep. Soon it was dusk. His Highness suddenly woke up. Not seeing Lynette, he felt a surge of panic. He found her in the hallway. Thankfully, she was all right. He was about to walk over and call out to Lynette, but someone else got there first, chatting happily with her. Her peaceful expression was something Killian had never seen before. Killian was hurt. He dejectedly turned to leave, but Lynette spotted him. She walked over happily and asked him how he slept. He replied politely, "Thanks to you." The female lead could clearly sense that he seemed to be in a bad mood. She wanted to say something more. Halid ran over and said that his father had returned, and he had found the Hamiltons. They've been settled in their forest cabin for now. Their minds are not clear. Please be careful. His Highness had just agreed when he was nearly hit by a cup. The two of them are struggling desperately. The female protagonist glanced over, unable to believe it. These two were Viscount and Viscountess Hamilton. They were once the powerful figures who managed the royal finances, commanding great authority. To think they'd become so haggard. What on earth did Lady Gisela do to them? She suddenly felt very unwell. They reek of a strong, dark magic potion. Viscount Hamilton was shouting belligerently, but upon seeing the crown prince, he became terrified and immediately knelt to beg for mercy. When Balin used magic to trace their last whereabouts, he discovered a suspicious wall in the basement of the Viscount's residence. He pushed the wall down and saw the imprisoned Viscount and Viscountess Hamilton inside. A large quantity of dark magic potions was found in the underground storeroom. They likely didn't hide themselves away voluntarily. Rather, that woman imprisoned them. Viscountess Hamilton suddenly had an episode, screaming that she would kill Catherine and lunging at him. Fortunately, His Highness blocked her way. The Viscountess was subdued, but she was still wailing. It's because of that woman, Catherine, that they were imprisoned. Killian stood before Viscount Hamilton and told him to confess everything about the cases the Viscount was involved in or had witnessed, and also the crimes Catherine committed. He answered, trembling, "Catherine, that vicious woman. From the moment she first appeared, she was a woman shrouded in suspicion. It was also because she was originally a commoner, even though she gained power and entered the royal court. But he knew almost nothing about the person who sent the invitation. He had only seen one letter sent by Catherine. She had no companion, that woman found one herself. The letter requested help for Catherine to attend the ball and asked him to list Kleiber as her companion. Officer McLaren. She remembered there was no such person in the original novel. She had an ominous feeling. But strangely, as soon as the news spread that Catherine had caught His Majesty the Emperor's eye, Officer McLaren came to ask him who Catherine was. The next time he saw the two of them, the officer was bowing and scraping to Catherine. Ever since Catherine gained His Majesty's trust, their position naturally became precarious. At that time, Catherine persuaded them to go on a trip for a year. She said that as long as she mastered the internal affairs of the court during that time, she would give him a royal post when they returned. Having no grounds to refuse, the moment they reluctantly decided to go on the trip, someone came for them. When we woke up, we were in the underground storeroom. We wanted to die, but couldn't. When we came to our senses, we were already eating the food in the storeroom, as if bewitched by something. His Highness gave his orders. He said to let them stay here for the time being. He would investigate this person, Kleiber. No one at this ball will be more beautiful than her, although His Highness will accompany her. But you must be careful, Lynette. Of course. Then she left and got into the carriage. The female protagonist could already see the Imperial Palace. She had actually transformed into a human and was going to the Imperial Palace. Last night, Killian told her she must be noticed by the Emperor at this ball. He told Lynette not to worry, that she would surely do well. But the female protagonist was still worried that without her, how would His Highness find the dark magic? Balin said that only the person who makes the dark magic potion can also make the antidote. But His Highness said he was fine. As long as she is safe, that's what's most important to him. It's not possible that he's fine, because Killian can't detect the presence of the dark magic potion. She wanted to help Killian find the antidote. She was sure she could find something useful in Lady Gisella's room. Now is the best chance. There are so many people here. How am I supposed to find Killian? She wanted to discuss the matter of the antidote with him. Over there is Lano. Although he's some kind of minister, he loves to suck up to Lady Gisela, as if afraid others don't know how despicable he is. Even his mask is unimpressive. No, now is not the time for this. She had to go upstairs and find Killian first. As she was searching, someone approached her and asked if she was looking for someone. The voice was very familiar, and he also whispered to her, "Is it the person you can't sleep without?" The female protagonist became even more certain of his identity. It was Killian. She recognized him at a glance. While the two were talking, Catherine saw everything from distance. Her expression darkened. She muttered, "It's that silver-haired brat I saw back then." She crawled her way in here on her own. "There's something I wanted to ask you when I saw you." Just then, the female protagonist also noticed. She was looking at her. The female protagonist pulled His Highness away to talk elsewhere. "Run all you want. The entire Imperial City is under my watch." They finally got far enough away. Unexpectedly, Killian's clothes got caught in a lady's hair nearby. The woman actually tackled Killian, knocking him down. Both of their masks fell to the ground. The two of them looked into each other's eyes. The female protagonist was very surprised. Rose-like red hair and golden pupils that shone like the sun. She must be the female protagonist of the original novel, Vanessa. In the novel, the two of them first met at a masquerade ball. Killian personally helped Vanessa untangle her hair, bringing them closer. However, now Killian was calling her over to help. Instead of helping with the hair himself, he called for her. So she had no choice but to step forward and cut it. After he got up, he was still complaining about why she didn't just cut it off directly. Vanessa was a little surprised by his identity. Trembling, she handed the mask back to His Highness. His Highness didn't seem to mind. Is it because they are the male and female protagonists of this world? Even though it was their first meeting, the two of them looked so natural together. She felt a little dejected. Just then, Vanessa took the initiative to greet her. Vanessa asked if the two of them came together or if they were in a romantic relationship. From the very beginning, His Highness's eyes haven't left the court lady. Upon hearing this, the female protagonist quickly explained that they had no such relationship, that they were just friends. Vanessa expressed her apologies and prepared to leave. After bidding farewell to Vanessa, she said she just wanted to clear up the misunderstanding and was going to rest for a bit now. She went to the balcony alone. Although the situation was already very different from the original novel, the two of them still had their fateful encounter. Perhaps the two of them will fall in love. Unlike her, a cursed person. Where should she go then, if she can't stay by Killian's side anymore? As she was lost in her confusion, His Highness arrived. He looked into the female protagonist's eyes and asked her why she was crying. What happened? The female protagonist said it was nothing. Hearing this, His Highness said it was good that she was okay and helped her put on her mask. I'm sorry to bother you when you're so tired, but from now on, absolutely do not take off your mask, no matter what happens. A knock came from outside. It was Balin. He said His Majesty had arrived. He's finally here. His Majesty has arrived. Emperor Adolf. In the novel, Vanessa was also noticed by Lady Gisela and received a proposal to help her become Empress Alice. But Vanessa didn't know one fact. For her to take that position, one of the Empress's ladies-in-waiting had to disappear. The person sacrificed to make Vanessa the Empress's lady-in-waiting was Countess Cavendish. If Lady Gisela's plot is the same as in the novel, then the Countess might be in danger. She walked over and initiated a conversation with the two of them. They exchanged a few pleasantries. They introduced each other. Countess Cavendish is extremely loyal to the Empress, so I'll get close to her by praising the Empress. She expressed that she greatly respected Her Majesty the Empress, so she also wanted to meet the Countess. It felt a bit exaggerated. She did her best to sing the praises of Her Majesty the Empress. The effect was remarkable. The Countess was very pleased. Actually, this is my first time at the Imperial Palace. I hope to meet some young ladies my age. Does the Countess have children? If she guessed correctly, the Countess clearly had a daughter. In the novel, due to Lady Gisela's scheme, she was killed on her way to see her daughter. The Countess said she does have a daughter, but she's already married. She just gave birth last night, so I plan to make a trip to Lisbon, where my daughter is. I'll leave at noon tomorrow. I should be able to arrive before dark. Noon tomorrow is tight, but if I can stop Lady Gisela's plot tomorrow, it'll be fine. However, at that moment, someone from behind called her name. It was Catherine. Balin saw this and was about to intervene, but was stopped by the female protagonist. The two exchanged simple greetings. Then Catherine started to stir up trouble, urging everyone to take off her mask. The female protagonist was shocked. The people there also had malicious intentions. Why is she suddenly telling me to take off my mask? It's as if she wants to confirm my appearance, and she keeps pressuring me. This left the female protagonist at a loss for what to do. His Highness told her not to take off her mask, so she refused directly. Seeing her persistence, the protagonist stated again that she was unwilling. The two were at a standstill. Catherine was trembling with anger. After returning, she started throwing things and ordered a servant immediately write a letter and send it to the Brunhild household. Ask if that bitch really comes from the Brunhild family. The maid said that doing so would be like questioning the court lady. She slapped the person straight to the ground. She asked grimly, "When did I give you permission to talk back?" The maid trembled and said she was sorry. She shouted loudly, "That woman is definitely the maid I saw before. Does she think that kind of silver hair is common? It must be that maid. She used the crown prince to hide her identity and enter the palace, because that's the same method I used in the past." A maid pushed open the door and said, "Something big has happened, my lady. I found Lady Vanessa. I've already brought her here. But on the way here, I heard from other maids that His Majesty the Emperor has summoned the Brunhild court lady for a private audience. The female protagonist and His Majesty the Emperor were having tea alone. His Majesty remarked, "To think Duke Brunhild's daughter has grown up so much." Killian arrived late. The Emperor said he came at just the right time. He was just about to ask about the court lady's family. Killian said she has no other siblings. The female protagonist chimed in, "That's right. I suggested that the Duke send the court lady to attend this royal ball, because this is an opportunity to represent the family and introduce herself to the nobility. Because in the near future, the head of the Brunhild family will be the court lady. Most importantly, the Duke believes the court lady is the most beautiful and intelligent person in the world." The female protagonist's face felt like it was on fire. His Majesty suggested she stay here for a couple more days. Catherine was rude to the court lady, so he should have her apologize during this opportunity. The female protagonist was a little surprised. She thanked His Majesty. His Majesty instructed Killian that while the court lady is staying here, he must pay special attention to ensure she is not uncomfortable in the slightest. Then he left. Only when the two of them were alone did the female protagonist relax. She asked, "What would you have done if His Majesty hadn't summoned me?" "If he hadn't summoned you, I might have introduced you as the person I want to marry." The female protagonist spat out her drink upon hearing this. It sprayed all over His Highness's face. Then he calmly said, "I'm joking," and wiped his face. The female protagonist retorted, "I know that. Are you that eager to deny it? Or do you want to marry me?" At this thought, the female protagonist blushed a little. Killian watched her turn aside and pretend to cough, but he was actually laughing his head off. After calming down, he said he would take her to see her new room. His Highness also asked if there was anywhere she wanted to go. She wanted to know where Lady Gisella's room was. There might be an antidote for the dark magic potion in her room. With the antidote, His Highness would be safe in the palace. His Highness was a little angry when he heard this. "Why are you doing something I didn't ask you to do?" Suddenly, Killian froze. He realized his mood was off. He was just too worried about her, because he didn't want her to do anything dangerous. The female protagonist knew he was worried about her, but now was the only chance to find the antidote. She could only do it behind his back. It's getting late. The Crown Prince suggested they tour the imperial city tomorrow, but she made an excuse, saying she couldn't tomorrow. She had to go to Lisbon tomorrow. She couldn't explain the reason to him either, since that would also be dangerous. So she said there was a beautiful dress shop there. Surprisingly, Killian wanted to go too. She had to find an excuse to stop him. She said, "Do me a favor." Soon, she was dressed and ready to leave. Before, she was a cat, but now she's receiving this kind of treatment. Life is truly unpredictable, and someone outside saw her leave. It was Catherine, she thought. So Lynette is Irina, disguised as a nobleman's daughter to get in. Just like how I secure the position of chief mistress. But I won't let her have it easy. The father and son have the exact same taste in women. Blood really doesn't lie. The emperor is already poisoned by dark magic. The young prince's dosage isn't enough yet. I'll expose that brat for not being the Brunhild court lady, hold her and the crown prince accountable, and crush them all under my heel. But she had already lied and said she was going out shopping. It seems she bought a bit too much. And there were men in black following the carriage. The female protagonist had asked Killian to have people follow her. He smiled and agreed. Sure enough, the knights drove off the men in black. The female protagonist thought they were incredibly cool. They finally arrived at Countess Cavendish's residence. She hadn't left yet. The female protagonist had something to give her. It was famous desserts and high-end fabrics and jewelry. These were all tokens of her sincerity. She saw the Countess's carriage and helped load the items. Then she pretended to trip and fall. The Countess felt like her world was ending. What was even worse was that she stomped back and forth on it. She made a complete mess of the carriage. As the Countess trembled and asked how this could happen, she feigned carelessness and offered to take her to Lisbon in her own carriage. And so, the female protagonist went with the Countess to visit Mary Lauren. She politely expressed her congratulations. She also wanted to go to town with the Countess's carriage. While she stayed here, the Countess should be safe. So during this time, she had to quickly check the surroundings. It wouldn't be easy to find a decisive clue quickly. Luckily, she noticed someone who wasn't acting right. According to Countess Cavendish, he was the person closest to her who had worked for her the longest. And now he was making an excuse to leave for a moment. So the female protagonist quietly followed him. That person was definitely up to something. He went to a pigeon shop to buy a pigeon, sending a message to who knows who. Elsewhere, the message was received. Catherine's expression soured after reading the letter. There are other attendants in the carriage. Have him follow Anaros after Countess Cavendish returns to the capital. The lady relayed to the pursuit team, just burn the entire carriage. And that coachman, Anaros, was shocked. He asked, "But what about the tuition you promised for my son?" But Catherine's expression changed. She said, "The father is dead, so the son doesn't need to go to school anymore." The Countess was to meet an important guest tomorrow and had to leave tonight. The female protagonist directly confronted the coachman, but he refused to admit anything. She didn't have enough evidence. She had to think of a way. It would be safer to leave at dawn, but the two of them wouldn't listen to her at all and were determined to leave. She could only make some preparations. She had the coachman draw the curtains after they set off. The carriage sped down the road. She observed the surroundings. The Countess still didn't know what was happening. Why are we going so fast? She made a decision. Although she knew it was dangerous, right now, there were grassy fields on both sides. She asked the Countess, "Do you trust me?" The Countess said bluntly, "I don't." But the female protagonist didn't care what she said. She yanked open the carriage door and pulled her out. And from the carriage behind them came a loud explosion. The carriage burst into flames. The Countess was filled with lingering fear. If they had been a moment later, they could have died. However, it wasn't safe yet. She grabbed the Countess and ran. Even though her foot was injured, After all, someone might be chasing them. They had to escape quickly. As long as they could get to the carriage she had arranged during the day, they would be safe. The men in black walked over, assuming everyone was already dead. The protagonist and the lady were hiding in the bushes. They discovered footprints. They were about to be found. Their hiding spot was found. They were in danger. Someone even took the lady hostage. She had no choice but to be captured. The lady wanted her to run, which angered the man in black. He was about to kill her. The protagonist was terrified. Fortunately, the crown prince arrived at the critical moment. He pulled Lynette into his arms. Finally safe, she could cry her heart out. Killian gave an order. These were the ones who tried to harm the court lady and the countess. Spare none of them. Arrest them all. Soon, they were all captured. Accompanied by guards, the court lady and the countess left in a carriage. They first went to the countess's daughter's residence. Killian kicked the door open. He asked who dared to touch the court lady. He killed the man who had touched her on the spot. He ordered the rest to be sent to the Imperial City prison. The adjutant said that it would be difficult to get a confession if they were locked in the Imperial City prison. He didn't really care. The reason he killed that man himself was because he had touched the court lady. Knowing what happened outside, he was concerned if they were all right. Because her foot was injured, he called for a doctor and had a change of clothes brought for her. The lady was full of gratitude towards him. The protagonist just felt that it was enough that they were safe. The doctor's examination revealed no serious injuries, just a sprained foot that needed swelling reduction. She tried to get up. Killian wouldn't let the doctor leave. Afterward, the atmosphere between the two fell silent. Killian was a little angry. She was injured. She felt she was fine, that it was just a sprain. Killian poked her nose, saying she still had various cuts and bruises. The protagonist used her usual trick, acting cute to gain his trust, and said that what happened this time was an accident. But Killian saw through her lie. He had sent people to follow her and knew everything. Before the carriage accident, the guards had been following the court lady's carriage from a great distance, so she wouldn't notice. But he didn't expect that being too far away almost led to her getting into trouble. He was terrified in hindsight. He didn't want Lynette to get hurt. The protagonist promised him it wouldn't happen again. After a long hug, they finally separated. Killian suddenly had an idea. She had clearly said she had amnesia. She turned her head away guiltily and said that if she really knew anything, she probably wouldn't have gotten hurt. But Killian felt that none of this was a coincidence. It was as if she had foreseen these events and resolved them. Killian wanted to know if she knew the future. The protagonist was conflicted. This was the world inside a book. He was poisoned by a dark magic potion and would become a tyrant who destroys the empire. She couldn't tell him these things. She could only say that she was just going to give him a gift and accidentally got caught in the carriage accident. Killian believed her. He was still blaming himself for not taking good care of her. The protagonist comforted him. "It's okay. How could this be your highness's fault?" She said she was scared, that she just wanted to see his highness worry, and that's why she acted pretentiously and scared him like this. She also wanted to hear his words of concern. Seeing his gloomy expression, the protagonist thought he was angry. However, he just turned aside and said that she really drove him crazy. She was being reckless because she knew he would forgive her. After saying that, he said he was leaving. He didn't forget to turn back and threaten her. If she made him worry again, he would really spank her. The protagonist was very displeased. She wasn't a child anymore. In the bathroom, Killian was still thinking about how to keep her by his side. Knowing she had failed, Catherine was very angry. She immediately went to the Imperial City prison to shut those scumbags up. Meanwhile, her subordinates were still gossiping. One said the white-haired woman was a beauty. That guy has been captivated by the silver-haired woman. The next day, she woke up feeling sore all over. Her eyes were so swollen, she couldn't see the path clearly. When Killian came in, he saw a lump. He lifted the covers and couldn't help but laugh. Then he took a closer look to see if she was uncomfortable anywhere else. Thanks to her, his heart was about to jump out of his chest. If he died young, it would definitely be because of her. The protagonist said he would surely live a long life. Killian took her hand, saying he needed her help with something, and that was marriage. He wanted to marry her. Hearing this, she shyly pulled her hand away and told him not to joke. Killian said he wasn't joking. Why not? She said she still didn't know who she was and had a lot of problems to solve. Besides, she wasn't a real court lady. Killian felt these were not problems. If she couldn't make up her mind, she should use him first. Use him through marriage. Besides, if she didn't marry him, how would she get into the royal library? She couldn't be planning to contact the Count's family every time and sneak in as a cat, could she? Killian gave her 3 days to think about it. Then during breakfast, she was a bit out of it. She couldn't imagine what it would be like to actually get married. She only snapped out of it when someone called her. An eagle flew in with a message. The matter had already reached the Empress. Her Majesty, the Empress, was always worried about His Highness the Crown Prince. Killian asked how his mother was doing recently. The lady's letter said she was trying hard to recover her health every day. Every time she received a letter from His Highness, she was overjoyed. Looking at it this way, Your Highness, it seems you haven't written to Empress Elise in a while. Is it because you don't often receive her replies? He seems very interested in Lynette. Besides when she was a cat, she seemed to have seen him somewhere else too. He had already flown away. The protagonist stared deeply after him. She told Killian that she thought she had seen Missio before. She remembered seeing him in a dream, back when she was asleep for days and couldn't wake up. In that nightmare, she saw a purple light in the darkness, which urged her to try and remember. Then she realized it wasn't a light. She said it was Missio who appeared in her nightmare and woke her up. Perhaps someone sent Missio into her nightmare. That person might be the Empress. Just in case, Killian planned to ask the Empress to send Missio over. He was a little concerned if His Majesty would pay attention to this matter. The Emperor found out. The carriage carrying the Brunhild court lady and Lady Cavendish was attacked. They explained the situation. He planned to tell His Majesty about this first, and then the Duke. The Emperor glanced at her leg and told her to rest well. She pretended to be scared, which made His Highness chuckle. The Emperor, on the other hand, wanted to have them drawn and quartered. But Killian received news that the men who were sent to the royal prison ahead of time had all died from infighting. Luckily, he had just discovered that morning the two thugs who had escaped. They said they were acting under orders. Meanwhile, Catherine received the handwriting analysis report. She heard they would start with the nobles in the imperial city. How efficient. Lady Anaros would be investigated. Catherine didn't care about her at all, just smiled and told her to go in for a while. She was terrified. She had only written a letter on the lady's behalf. Catherine promised to help her have an easier time in prison, and that she would give her the Viscount's territory next year. The Viscount has been missing for so long. His territory will soon be hers. That evening, she had dinner with the Emperor. The Emperor said the mastermind of the case was very likely a noble. The nobles who needed their handwriting compared would probably resist. Catherine hypocritically stated that this case was very serious. The culprit must be found. She was willing to be the first to have her handwriting compared. The protagonist watched how calm she was. She must be certain she wouldn't be exposed. At that moment, a new dish was served. It was a steak laced with dark magic. The protagonist shook her head at the prince, but the prince was unobservant. He asked if her head was itchy, so she could only sneeze at the dinner table. The scene fell silent. Her saliva even sprayed all over the Emperor's face. She said embarrassedly that she was having an allergic reaction. The Emperor asked what she was allergic to. She pointed to the poisoned blueberries on the table. The prince thought she was adorable. Catherine's expression turned ugly. Her gaze was grim. She ordered a servant to prepare something from the kitchen. Theirs didn't need to be changed. Hearing this, she continued to cough, saying that she couldn't help it as long as the blueberries were nearby. Catherine felt she was being dramatic. The Emperor, however, didn't mind. He said they could just prepare new dishes. Her allergy was so severe, and it wasn't like they had to eat this steak. The protagonist felt extremely lucky. The prince admitted his negligence and proposed to take care of the court lady for the time being, preparing her food separately. The Emperor agreed. Only Catherine's face was dark. Out in the hallway, he suspected the two were too close. They happened to run into Chief Macmillan in the hallway, so he put some distance between them. Catherine was now openly glaring at her. She looked at the stairs before her, feeling as if her world was collapsing. Killian walked right over and carried her up. Catherine watched from below. She sneered at Lynette, implying her behavior was frivolous, as if she had been carried by many men. Killian turned back and told her to watch her words and not to offend his guest. He would not tolerate it. Catherine had no choice but to apologize. Chief Macmillan was already investigating whether she was really a court lady from the Brunhild family. The results would probably be out tomorrow. He would tell everyone that the wretched girl was an imposter. The next day, she woke up feeling sore all over. It was lively downstairs. She leaned over the balcony to look down, seeing His Majesty Killian and Catherine were also there. She called out to the prince from upstairs, waving goodbye to him. But in the blink of an eye, the prince was gone. He had appeared right behind her and wrapped his arms around her. He asked why she was on the terrace. It was so dangerous. He actually ran all the way up for her. He couldn't help but run up when he saw Lynette. He hoped she could understand his feelings. Catherine had just sent His Majesty off when someone approached her, asking if the book had been found in the library. Catherine answered no. The man told her to move around as little as possible while accessing the library. That person had told him to find the book. As long as she could get what that person was looking for, she could meet them immediately. Catherine didn't know how much longer she had to remain subservient to him. The person sent to the Brunhild estate to investigate was finally sending a message back today. She wanted to know that girl's lowly background. She wondered what His Majesty's expression would be then. The protagonist asked a maid about Lady Gisella's room. Recently, Baron's apprentices had come to the imperial city disguised as servants. In this castle, besides His Highness, she now had other people she could trust. It felt great. She asked about Kleiber, the head of the magic management department. She said she had never met him, but the maid said that was impossible. He attended the ball and even went a tryst with them. The minister was just next to the court lady. Come to think of it, she seemed to have met him, but she couldn't recall his face at all. Gasper walked over and said that Catherine had gone to the casino. Although she didn't know when danger would strike, it felt like things were back to normal. However, what she didn't know was that Catherine had already walked up to her. She was still asking about Catherine's situation. Catherine directly asked why she was so concerned about her. Lady Gisela arrived. She invited Lynette to her room. Her room had a private tea room and desserts she had never tasted at the Damborg residence. She definitely had ulterior motives. This was an excellent opportunity to enter Lady Gisela's room and find the antidote. He always pretended to be bad at shooting. She felt it must be tiring for him. If his juniors from the military academy saw this, they would be shocked by His Highness's acting. Even the Emperor thought his shooting skills were a mess because he was scared. Next up was Minister Macmillan. The people around him were laughing. It would be faster for the minister to shoot down a bird with magic. He did indeed put on a show. Applause came from his side. Killian said, using magic to kill a living creature without the Emperor's permission. Are you threatening His Majesty's safety? Minister Macmillan apologized, saying he just wanted to amuse His Majesty. The Emperor thought Killian had a point and kept reprimanding him. He said he would remember. Killian wanted to go back quickly because he had a bad feeling. The protagonist arrived at her room. She was shocked. The entire room was golden. Catherine smiled and told her to take a good look around the room. She couldn't feel anything. Catherine tempted her again, asking if she wanted to go have a look. After entering, she felt it was truly luxurious. To think she would keep the dark magic potion in such a lavish walk-in closet. She made an excuse that she had to step out for a bit and told her to wait here. She would be back soon. She knew something was fishy, but she wanted to risk it. After Catherine left, she started searching everywhere for the antidote. This looks like coral powder. His Highness said that nobles put coral powder in their closets to absorb moisture. There seems to be something in this bag. It's a ring. She strongly suspected that Catherine wanted to frame her as a thief. She thought about putting it in the box over there. She found it was full of rings, emitting a disgusting aura. There was also a note, the island crest of Fabian Nellis. Lady Gisela could indeed access the royal library. But why did she copy these island crests and store them here? She wanted to take a ring, but she couldn't carry it on her. She thought of the tree outside. He had already prepared it. She would just throw it into the bushes. She would leave this pink diamond ring here for now. When Catherine came, she would pretend nothing happened. She asked if there was anything the Brunhild court lady wanted. When she didn't hear clearly, she called her directly by the name Alina Scott. The protagonist was stunned. Just as the protagonist asked what she said, she was slapped. The force was so strong she fell to the ground. Catherine said, "How dare Mir made impersonate a court lady. The insolent wench." Her hair was grabbed. The maids outside heard the court lady screams. Catherine even wanted to ruin her face. She stomped on Catherine's foot, but was beaten violently. Just when she was at a loss, thankfully His Highness arrived. He ran over, wanted to help her up. Lynette's clothes were torn. Killian covered her with his coat. Catherine was still mocking her when a sword was pointed at her neck. Killian's face was furious as he said, "You dare?" The Emperor came over and told his son to put the sword away. Catherine pretended to be pitiful and begged for help, saying His Highness was trying to kill her. The Emperor had promised to hold Catherine accountable, but for now, the sword had to be put down. As soon as Killian sheathed his sword, Catherine claimed that Lynette was impersonating a court lady. She was attacked when she questioned her about it. It was just self-defense. The protagonist found this absurd. She was only lightly scratched. She said she had seen a maid like her in the palace before, so she investigated. She found that the Brunhild family had no heir. The Emperor heard this and said angrily, "Duke Brunhild is on his way here right now." "What nonsense are you spouting?" Catherine was stunned. The emperor had just received a message by carrier pigeon. The letter said that Duke Brunhild was coming to the imperial city because he was worried about his daughter. Saying this, he looked at Lynette and asked if she had written to him. The protagonist honestly said no. Killian said the court lady was seriously injured and must go upstairs for treatment. Now, His Majesty was going to hold her responsible. She was indignant, saying that even if she was a court lady, she had attacked her, and she also stole her ring. The protagonist said she was innocent. If they didn't believe her, they could search. They searched thoroughly. They said it was found behind a mirror. The emperor told her to apologize at once. Catherine trembled with anger, but still hugged her and apologized. She apologized pitifully, saying that with the empress absent, she was afraid the royal family would be taken over by others. Perhaps she went too far in suspecting her and even hitting her. The way she said it made it sound like it was all the empress's fault for not being in the palace. His Majesty also chimed in, telling him to forgive Catherine. But he noticed Catherine give a malicious smile. Things developed like this. The female lead pushed him away and forgave him. But she would not forget. The female lead was carried back. Killian felt Catherine was truly shameless, framing him for stealing. The female lead quietly called him over, saying he really did steal it. Killian was incredulous when he heard this. After returning, the item was found. The maid was holding it with her bare hands, yet nothing happened. Even Killian didn't feel anything. But clearly, when he had touched it, his hand had felt a stinging pain. The aura on it was indeed strange to him. It seemed only he could see it. The maid was going to give this to Gasper. He left, and the female lead felt puzzled. Who would treat his injury? Killian was about to help her, but her injured area was a bit private. It seemed inconvenient for His Highness. He ran away, blushing, saying he would send for someone. The female lead found it a bit baffling. The maid couldn't help but laugh. She said how much the crown prince liked the lady-in-waiting. It seemed only the lady-in-waiting herself didn't know. It was now rumored everywhere outside that the lady-in-waiting was seriously injured from a fight with Lady Gisela. Indeed, she was beaten to tears at that time. She was always getting hurt and sad. Perhaps it was because she was by his side. But even so, he still wanted her to stay with him. He took the ring. There were some things to confirm. Then he would hand it over to Balin. He suddenly thought of one thing, Officer McLaren. He was said to be at the theater in the town of Claude once every 3 months. Visiting the opera regularly must be for a purpose. If he liked opera, he should go more frequently. Killian requested a change of personnel to continue tailing him. He had to go back to the lady-in-waiting now. She was also quite unlucky, coming to the imperial city for no reason and getting embroiled in a case. If she continued to stay here, she would only become gossip for other nobles. Killian turned his head and said, but in the future, no one would be able to bully the lady-in-waiting, because the lady-in-waiting would become the empress. The adjutant was stunned upon hearing this. The two were getting married? When? Killian said it was just a matter of a few words. The adjutant was speechless. No woman would be happy with such a proposal. He would bet His Highness would be rejected. After returning, Killian felt a little unconfident. A proposal is the act of asking for marriage. For Lynette's once-in-a-lifetime wedding, he had only considered holding a wedding grander than anyone else's. At that time, her smile didn't seem happy. Thinking back now, it was normal. There was no ring, not even flowers. Just a blunt, let's get married. He suddenly felt like the sky was falling. Lynette's treatment was over. He directly asked about the marriage. The female lead thought it was about accessing the library and interrupted him. She said she happened to be thinking about it too, how to freely access the library. As of now, marriage was indeed the simplest and fastest way. Killian felt very disappointed upon hearing this. To some extent, it was also his fault. Considering these things, she said she was willing to marry. Killian fell silent. McLaren. The minister had already arrived at the opera house by this time. It was a bit noisy upstairs today. He heard that this afternoon, Lady Gisela and the lady-in-waiting Brunhild had an argument in the palace. After the person who received him left, he thought speechlessly that he had told her to do fewer useless things. To find what Fabian left behind, he needed that woman, because she could access the royal library. If she continued to attract so much attention, things would become difficult. It might ruin his plans. After all, an actress who has outlived her usefulness cannot be kept on stage forever. Last night, she slept very comfortably. While she was asleep, the emperor sent this. It was said to be an ointment used by the imperial family. The maid was a little indignant. Sending it only now was really insincere. That's right, since he knew Duke Brunhild was rushing to the imperial city. As long as he kept her in the city, he would have to be mindful of the duke's opinion. His intentions were too obvious. but they already had an ointment. This was made from the finest medicinal herbs carefully cultivated by Irina. It wasn't sent to curry favor with anyone. Lynette felt a little embarrassed. The lady-in-waiting was enjoying everyone's affection. The crown prince especially liked her. The female lead thought he must be joking, but His Highness proved with his actions that he really liked her. The lady-in-waiting knew His Highness might like her. Lynette was a bit embarrassed, because the matter of her argument with Lady Gisela had spread everywhere. She was afraid of going out and becoming prey for other nobles, so she obediently stayed in her room. But that woman could come and go freely among the nobles. When she was idle, she couldn't help but wonder. When His Highness proposed marriage, didn't he mean an alliance? When she opened her eyes again, she saw His Highness appear before her. They were very close. She quickly got up. Killian was dressed very formally today. He was even holding a bouquet of flowers. The room was filled with gift boxes. She thought it was someone's birthday. Killian was actually going to propose to her. The female lead felt it was very sudden. He said his subordinate mentioned that no woman would like a proposal that was just a blunt, "Let's get married." So now he was going to propose formally. She agreed. She said, all right. She liked this bouquet. And she also liked how much His Highness cared for her. He became a little shy. They weren't even married yet. At this moment, His Highness actually took a dagger out of his pocket. His Highness said this thing was called a promita. Put something inside it, and it will change its appearance based on what was put in. He dripped a few drops of blood and cut a bit of her hair. It turned into a gem. His Highness said this was the proof of their marriage contract. If a war breaks out, the nobles must stand at the forefront with the royal family. So, many times, only a corpse is returned. At this time, to skip the process and prove the marital relationship first, this promita would be used. Now, it was hers, and she must keep it well. From now on, she must be the one to keep it, because it was the promita that witnessed their marriage. If she wanted to prove it, she could try it at the library. The soldiers saw her and stopped her from entering, but she took out the promita. The soldiers were terrified. They brought the chasing wine. Just one drop. The light emitted by the promita would entwine around their ring fingers. The soldiers let them in directly. His Highness put his arm around her, and they went in together. This was the first time she had come in by herself. Their main purpose in coming here was to check this ring. The scripture transcribed by Lady Gisela made him a little uneasy. He had said he couldn't feel any magic from her. However, thinking that the item with magic was this ring was just his hypothesis. The scripture written for Weipel must be nearby. At this moment, the ring glowed and pointed in a direction. The ring really reacted to this scripture. It seemed the ring itself had magic. Then this ring must have been given to Lady Gisela by someone else, because no magic could be felt from Lady Gisela. Among the people who could use magic and were closest to Lady Gisela, there was only one suspect, Minister McLaren. Then was this ring made at Lady Gisela's request? Or did McLaren make it and then give it to Lady Gisela? Why did this ring only react to the scripture left by Fabian? Perhaps this ring was the very thing Fabian left behind. Hearing that His Highness was married, Riggio was shocked again. And with the promita, what made him even more speechless was that the lady-in-waiting had accepted His Highness. He didn't know what was going on in her little head, because Lynette requested a divorce after half a year. But His Highness had his reasons for not wanting her to do this. Although the plot was already different from the original, the fact that Killian loves Avanisha might not change. Killian didn't care what her reason was. They had just gotten married. He would not agree to such a thing. The female lead didn't want to pester His Highness. She just said that if his feelings hadn't changed after half a year, then she would take back her words about divorce. If he was loyal to her and could make her beg him not to divorce her after half a year, then she would also change her mind. Riggio said His Highness must be dreaming. He ended up getting punched. He had only been out for a trip. Now everyone knew he was married. He was also very surprised. The marriage of an empire's crown prince also signified the crown prince's growth, that he could ascend the throne. The crown prince is about to inherit the throne. Next, Emperor Adolf must take the step of passing the throne to his son. As they were talking, His Highness arrived. They quickly went out. His Highness was smiling. The people serving him were quite perceptive, which was different from him. The female lead asked if he had seen His Majesty, because she noticed he had dressed up specially. His Highness couldn't help but smile. He said he dressed up like this for her to see. He told Lynette not to be so surprised. Wasn't he trying his best to put on a good show for her? His wife, the Emperor's side, already knew. The crown prince was already married. The Emperor was shocked. Did his son want the throne now? He angrily threw the quilt on the floor. His face was grim. He would show his son the price of a